Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you have been following me the last 4 years, you would know how significant October 2nd is for me. If you're new here, that's okay. Sit tight, relax. I'm gonna jump into my breast cancer story. And I also got this cute little cake. It's pink, of course, to celebrate my 4-year anniversary of officially being cancer free. But before we jump into this cake, it's story time. So strap yourselves in. Picture this. Okay, we're gonna go back a few years. It is February of 2020. You're doing a self-breast exam. I did a self-breast exam and I felt a lump on my right breast, like a significantly sized lump on my right breast. Like it sat like down here. I would have noticed this as soon as it happened. I literally woke up with it, went to bed, everything was normal. I wake up the next day, there's this huge lump. I called my husband into the bathroom because I thought I was losing my mind because like it was huge. Like it literally came out of nowhere, right? So I made him feel it, make sure I wasn't imagining anything, and he did. I called my mom, who is also a breast cancer survivor, and she found her own lump doing a self-breast exam. After talking with her, she kind of told me to relax a little bit because my first thought went to cancer. And, she said based on her knowledge and what we both knew about breast cancer is that it wouldn't come that big that quick. So I relaxed a little bit. I'm like going through my head, like, okay, what could I have done? Like whenever I like moved my arm, like if I like kind of went back or like lifted, like pulled, like basically like if I was using my chest muscles for anything, it hurt. So I was like, okay, don't ever remember hearing breast cancer hurts. So I was like, maybe I overdid it at the gym, like I had just done like a chest day. And I also do want to point out, because I did forget to mention this, that I found this lump 2 weeks after I had miscarried my first pregnancy. So keep that in the back of your head. Like I lost pregnancy hormones. And it's just like I would move, it would hurt. So I'm like, okay, I had to have done, like I just maybe overdid it. So I decided I'm just going to take like a rest week, of upper body. Like I would just focus on like lower body. And, I should be okay to go back. So fast forward, it's like another 2 weeks. This lump is still present. COVID is in full swing. Everything's shut down. I sent my doctor a message and I was like, hey, just want to let you know I found this lump. Not really sure what to do. Kind of not sure if it's cancer. Like I was explaining to her, like it hasn't shrunk. Explaining like the texture of it or whatever. Like it was kind of squishy. And, she jumped back, and this is my PCP, like, she jumped back and said that it sounds like it's a cyst. She's going through, like, the whole spiel of everything, like, you're young, trying to get pregnant. I just stopped taking birth control. Birth control can sometimes cause cysts on your breast. Like, I got the whole speech, even with my family history and myself being BRCA positive. Like, we didn't do any testing. I'm like, okay, I'm overreacting. So now we're going to fast forward a few months. It is June of 2020. I just found out that I'm pregnant again. Very happy. This lump is still very present, still very painful, still can't do any kind of upper body workout, still can't do anything. At this point, like I have to rely on my husband, like we have to get the store together because I can't push a buggy. I can't lift. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on? Like this is like really annoying. Like I feel like a cyst would have been gone. So I'm like reading more into the cyst. And it's like, oh, if you like put a heat compressant on it, like it'll help it shrink. And I'm like, okay, great. So, like I'm trying to do that. It's shrinking some, but not really. Like it's still huge. It's still present. So in July of 2020, I have my first OB appointment because I had hit 10 weeks pregnant. I told the doctor there, I told my OB, I said, hey, just want to let you know that we think I have a cyst on my right breast, but, no testing's been done, no exam's been done, not really sure what to go, like what the next steps are going to be or anything. And she didn't even do any kind of exam on me. She did not send me for any kind of testing, knowing my family history. So I'm like, okay, that's 2 doctors now. I'm definitely overreacting, whatever. It'll go away. It's fine. I just have to deal with it. So here comes chaos. I am 20 weeks pregnant. I still can't work out. I am now gaining pregnancy weight. I want to work out. I want to just get, my life back together. I don't want to gain a ton of weight with the pregnancy. I'm trying to keep everything at bay, keep healthy, do what I can for myself and my child. So I take it upon myself and I call my breast surgeon. And this would be Friday, September 27th. And I just said, hey, can I come in? Can I please get the cyst taken care of? I want to work out again. I want to exercise again. I mentioned to them that I was pregnant, and, they were happy for me because I've been seeing her since I was 24 years old because of my family history. And, always had an exam done. We always did an annual MRI, mammogram, and ultrasound on me, just better safe than sorry. So I've been seeing her since I was 24 years old, the last five years. And, they're like, oh yeah, you can come in on Monday. So I'm like, great. So Monday rolls around, I'm walking into her office, we're talking a little bit about my pregnancy, she's really happy for me that I'm pregnant. And she does her exam. She looked at me and told me she was worried about this one. Now, mind you, I have been seeing her for 5 years prior to this, and not once has she ever said, I'm worried about anything with me. So I was like, okay, if you're worried about it, it's probably cancer. I'm like, all right, whatever. So the initial plan was I was going to go get an ultrasound done on Tuesday and then be back in her office on Wednesday for a possible biopsy, depending on what the ultrasound results were. So that was the plan. On Tuesday, I went in for my ultrasound. So this is now September 29th. One of my best friends was my ultrasound tech for the day. And I swear to you, she has the best poker face. As an ultrasound tech, you see, what certain things look like because you've seen it all. It's your job. You know what things look like. We're just talking about my pregnancy. We're happy. I'm not stressing anything. She pulls out a different probe. And I was like, oh, that's new because, she's done my ultrasounds, the entire time I've been getting ultrasounds done. And I was like, oh, we're using something new, are we? Because, at that point, I kind of already knew, right? Me and my mom both at this point already have, accepted it. And then she's like, oh, yeah, we pull this out whenever there's, a lump and stuff. And I'm thinking, I call shenanigans, but, it's your lie, tell it how you want. So she was like, all right, I'm going to have the radiologist look over this. And, she was like, I don't want to alarm you, but because there's a lump, he might want to come in and take a look for himself. And I'm like, okay, whatever. My mom took me to the hospital that day for it because I was kind of nervous about it, especially since I kind of already knew what I was going to be getting into. And, my mom's in the waiting room, because of COVID and stuff. We don't know what the rules and regulations were at that point. So my friend comes back into the room and, she was like, hey, just want to let you know the radiologist pulled your doctor out of OR. That was flag number 1. And we're going to do a biopsy now under ultrasound. That was flag number 2. I have never had any kind of procedure done. Even all the injuries I've had with gymnastics, I have never had to have anything major done. I've never had any kind of surgery, nothing. So to tell you I was terrified about this, I was legitimately terrified about getting this biopsy done because I'm it's on my boob. It's gonna hurt, right? So I asked her, I said, my mom's here. Is it okay if she comes back with us? Because kind of really nervous. And I was like, you need to be there too. I straight up told her, I was like, you need to be in that room with me too. We're friends. I need, I need my friend with me too. So she went and got my mom, and like we're in the room, and it was me, my mom, my friend who was the tech, another tech to come in to help, and the radiologist. And this poor man was in a room full of women. We were talking about ice cream because I told my mom, I was like, I need you to talk to me the whole time. Like, if I'm talking, like, I'm fine. I was like, I need you to talk to me the whole time. And I was like, just talk to me. So she starts trying to talk to me about work. And I'm like, Mom, we are not talking work right now. We're talking something else. Like, you better just, like, food or, like, I don't care. You know, we're all, like, laughing at that point. Because it's like, I don't let things, like, I typically don't let things stress me out like that. So, you know, like, we've, like, talked the whole time. You know, like, the radiologist did the biopsy. He kept saying that it was very vascular. And I didn't know what that meant because, like, I heard that and I'm like, okay, maybe it's not cancer. Like, I'm kind of like, okay, you know, maybe it's not going to come back as cancer cells. So I asked him, I was like, well, what does that mean? And, you know, he just said that, like, it keeps bleeding. Like, not like an injury. Like, the tumor keeps bleeding. So, you know, he was like, oh, you know, like, that's why it's not, that's why it wasn't healing. You know, it really was mostly cyst. The tumor was sitting, like, underneath the cyst. So, like, what I was feeling was a cyst. Like, that part was true. But it wasn't shrinking because this tumor was in the way. So, like, this tumor was, I don't even know how to explain it. But, like, kind of think of it as, like, you have, like, a marble. And you get Play-Doh. And you, like, put the Play-Doh, like, over top of the marble. So, it's, like, hiding the marble. That's basically what it was. So, I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, what can I do for it? Like, is there anything other than surgery? And he's like, no, you need to get surgery done. And I was like, great. Like, terrified because I'm like, again, never had surgery. So I'm like, oh, well, I'll just deal with it. You know, like, if that's all it is, like, I'll just deal with it. So on Wednesday, it's now September 30th. And, you know, me and my mom were back at my breast surgeon's office. I remember walking in and I wasn't worried. I knew at this point what it was because there were so many, like, red flags. Like, thinking about it that night, like, I'm like, it's cancer. Like, I know it's cancer. So I'm in my doctor's office and I'm, like, pacing the floor because my growing child was sitting on my sciatic nerve. I'm trying to get him to move. You know, I'm 20 weeks pregnant. It's like, all right, come on. Like, you need a shift. My doctor walks in and she's like, I have some news. I looked at her without skipping a beat and I said, it's cancer. So, like, I'm still walking at this point. You know, she was like, sit down. And I was like, I really can't right now. I was like, I'm okay. I need to just keep walking to try to get my child to move. And, you know, we're, like, talking and stuff. And, you know, she was like, you know, the biopsy results did show cancer. And, you know, she was like, we need to get this taken care of. You know, at this point, we didn't know the size, we didn't know the stage, we didn't know if it had spread. Now, mind you, this has been growing in me for 8 months before I went and talked to her. So at this point, I'm just thinking, like, this cancer, like, it probably spread. Like, I don't even want to, like, like, I have, like, so much going through my head. But, like, hearing the words, you have cancer, didn't really, like, affect me. Because, like I said, I had already accepted the fact that it was cancer whenever I went in for my ultrasound. So it's like everything that, like, your whole thought process, like, after you hear that, I already had. So I was like, okay. I was like, what do we need to do? And, you know, we're, like, talking about things. You know, she's like, you know, we need to go in for surgery. Probably going to need chemo. You know, like, everything was still kind of like speculation at that point, aside from the surgery, because, again, we didn't know anything. We didn't know the extent to anything. And I just remember sitting in her office just crying because I was scared out of my mind. Like, the cancer part didn't bother me. Like, okay, I have cancer, whatever. Like, I'll do what I have to do. I was terrified of the surgery. Like I said, I've never had any kind of surgery done. I have a child in my stomach, like, growing in me. What's going to happen? say, like, I had like so much, because it wasn't just me going into this. I am now taking my child through all this. And you know, in her office, she was like, you know, she's like, well, we're going to schedule your surgery as soon as we can. And I looked at her and I looked at my mom and I was like, we can't do it tomorrow. Like, tomorrow was our gender reveal. I was like, we cannot do it tomorrow. So she was like, okay, well, we're doing it Friday. And I was just like, what? Like, what do you, like, I'm not ready for this. Like, I'm not prepared. Like, what? So, you know, she said that she was going to make some phone calls, and, you know, she said that the hospital was going to call me tomorrow with my surgery date and like arrival time and, you know, like all this and that. And I'm just like, okay. And then, you know, she was like, you know, she like kept reassuring me that because I was in the second trimester, that it was really the best time for everything. You know, she said, you know, like, she unfortunately has had to do a cancer surgery on another woman who was pregnant with twins. You know, she kept telling me that everything went well. She was in the second trimester like I was. Both of her twins were okay. And I believed her, but I was still terrified. So, you know, like, we went home. Then my husband was at work. So he was on his way home whenever I called him and I said, hey, you know, I'm leaving my doctor's office right now. We need to talk whenever I get home. And, you know, at that point, he was like, well, just tell me what she said now. And I was like, no. I was like, you're driving. I'll tell you whenever we get home. So then I was texting my sister and I said, hey, I know it sucks, but, like, you need to make sure you stay up on your testing. I have cancer. And she called me, you know, she was like, well, what do you mean? And, like, I'm talking to her about it. And, like, I'm fine. Like, mentally, I'm fine. So, I'm, like, talking to my sister, and I was like, yeah, you know, this is what I need to do, you know, like, whatever, you know, like, what do you do? It's whatever. So, on Thursday, we had our gender reveal. The whole day, thank God for it, because it was seriously, like, the biggest distraction of my life. You know, all day, I was on the phone with my breast surgeon. I was on the telehealth calls with a high-risk OB. I was on telehealth calls with a oncologist who specializes in breast cancer, as well as women who are pregnant with cancer. We're getting ready for our gender reveal. You know, it was just a good distraction. And, you know, like, our family and friends are coming in, and we not only announced that we were pregnant with a little boy, but also that I had breast cancer, and my surgery was scheduled for Friday morning. So, because I really wanted to get maternity pictures done, my sister took pictures of me and my husband at the gender reveal afterwards, just to, you know, like, let me have something, because I didn't know what was going to happen. And, you know, I'm 20 weeks pregnant. I hit 21 weeks pregnant on Friday, the day of my surgery. I was 21 weeks pregnant going into surgery. And let me tell you, when I tell you I was terrified, like, I woke up in the middle of the night just sobbing because I was so scared. Like, I could not sleep. My anxiety was through the roof. My husband kept assuring me everything was going to be okay. So Friday morning at 5 a.m., my mom and my husband are driving to the hospital. And because of COVID, only one person can be in the OR with me. So my mom told my husband to go in. And she waited outside of the hospital. And, like, I'm texting her the whole time, you know, like, I'm talking to my husband the whole time, like, he's in there with me, meeting the doctors, you know, like, all this and that. And I kid you not, I walked back to the room. the nurse who took me back said I needed to provide a urine sample. So I'm like, okay, like I've never had surgery before. Like I'm sure you're like testing, like make sure everything's okay, you know, whatever. The OR nurse comes back in and I said, hey, I just want to let you know that I left my sample in the restroom. And she looked at me and she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, I was told I had to leave a urine sample. And she looked at me. She looked at the other nurse and she was like, they really made you do a pregnancy test? And I looked at her and I was like, I guess. And she was like, sweetie, it says it on your charge that you're pregnant and we can tell you're pregnant. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like scared out of my mind. One of the things that I did really like and appreciate about that hospital was there was an OB with me the entire time monitoring my son throughout the entire surgery. You know, the team of doctors and the nurses and everything that were in the OR with me, they all volunteered. Like, they heard my story, they all volunteered. Like, they told me I was going to be in really good hands. They kept reassuring me I was fine. Meanwhile, the whole time I'm there, I'm, like, sobbing my eyes out because I am just, like, I was terrified. And, you know, the surgery went really well. I had a total right mastectomy, which means that my entire right breast tissue, everything was removed. I was home that day, and it was pretty easy. I stayed at my mom's house because I had a drain tube and, like, I had staples and stuff, so I was worried about my cats. You know, I didn't want, like, infection or them to, like, do anything. So, like, I stayed at my mom's house, my parents' house, you know, for that week, or 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks because I still had staples in. And, you know, I did my exercises like I was supposed to. I had my full range of motion back on my right side within a week. And then we found out from pathology about a week later that I was considered stage 2 because of the size of my tumor. I forget what it was now, but, like, I guess it was, like, pretty big. And it miraculously never spread anywhere. Like, I was deemed cancer-free the day of my surgery. They removed 10 lymph nodes. All 10 lymph nodes were fine. All the margins were clear. It somehow did not spread. I am not knocking that. I still to this day don't understand that because, like I said, this was growing in me for 8 months. I was triple negative breast cancer. That was my official diagnosis, which means triple negative breast cancer is the angriest, most aggressive cancer for breast cancer. You know, like, it scored top of its class in all the charts. And it still never spread, even being in me for 8 months. And I still don't understand that at all. But let me tell you, like, he was watching out for me that day. So after my surgery, I healed. It was about a month. You know, my husband and I, we were meeting with my oncologist who I was going to go see for chemo. I ended up doing 4 rounds of chemo while I was pregnant. The 2 chemo drugs I got, I forget what they were now. I know one was Toxil. I don't remember what the other one was. But I had 2 drugs, and they were perfectly safe for my child. There was only like a 4% chance of it passing through the placenta. And for 3 weeks, every 3 weeks, I had to go back in for another treatment. I had to get a PICC line put in. And what that means is, rather than doing a port where it was going to be another surgery that was, like, directly into, I think, my vein, like, in my chest, they did a PICC line instead, which is just, like, a little, like, port, like, in your arm. So, because I was pregnant, I couldn't go down to radiology for obvious reasons. So, I'm in my oncologist's office, like, up in a room where they're trying to put this PICC line in. They're trying to do it, like, via ultrasound. I was laying there for 2 hours. It was supposed to be a 10-minute procedure. I was there for 2 hours. And I didn't end up getting chemo that day because that took a lot longer than it was supposed to. You know, no fault of the tech by any means. Like, my vein just did not want to accept this PICC line. So after 2 hours, we were finally able to make it work. And the following day, I had my first round of chemo. And they told me that I was probably going to lose my hair. I didn't want to lose my hair. I loved my hair. Like, that is one thing that I was like, I can't, no, like, I don't want to lose my hair. I was in denial. And sure enough, it was like a week after my first treatment, I noticed my hair is just falling out. And I'm like, great. So rather than being upset about it, I still wanted to be in control of everything. So I looked at my husband and I was like, I'm going to donate my hair to Wigs for Kids. So I had my friend, do the cut for me. And I donated my hair a week after my first chemo treatment because I loved my hair. And I wanted other kids to look and feel beautiful who were either going through chemo themselves or they had, like different diseases and stuff that make you lose your hair and stuff. And I was like, no, like, I want these kids to look and feel beautiful. So they are getting my hair. And then it was a week after that I ended up going back and just had her shave my head because it was just falling out so much. And I was just so tired of cleaning it up and dealing with it. And I was like, nope, like, let's just do it. So before my second chemo treatment, I was bald. And I didn't know until I got to my parents' house after that my dad shaved his head too. And I cried because I was like, you didn't have to do that. Like, I love you, Daddy, like, my dad shaved his head. So, like, I had my chemo treatments. During my chemo treatments, I had to get my glucose test done for my pregnancy, which, that came back okay. Things were going great. We're planning my baby shower. And then it was very much advised to me from my doctors to not have my baby shower because my immune system was so compromised. COVID was still running rampant at the time. Like, this is like December of 2020, like right before Christmas. And, I was like, okay, like, I was still going to go through with it. I'm like, no, we're still doing this. And then I was like, no, my luck, I'm going to get COVID and something's going to happen. So I'm like, we just won't do it. So I didn't have my baby shower, but, after that, it was like right around that time that I was finishing up my first round of chemo. Like, I was getting to my fourth treatment. I think I was 35 weeks whenever I had my last treatment. And I remember being in my OB's office and, we were trying to figure out what my plan for delivery was going to be. They wanted me to do it naturally. And I was like, well, no, like, I don't want to wait. Like, I don't want to put my treatment on hold. I was like, if you're thought, like, maybe we can induce me, it's like 37 weeks, technically, like, your child is fully developed. I was like, why can't we get induced at 37 weeks? Ow. Ow, that really hurt. I finally got them on board because they knew from dealing with me for those 35 weeks that I will not take no for an answer, especially if, like, it's nothing that's, like, reckless. So they're like, okay, we'll induce you at 37 weeks. My cervix was checked the week before, and I was only, like, 1 centimeter. So they're like, we'll check you again in a week. The day before I was going to be induced, I was supposed to be induced on January 21st. And the day before, 2 days before I went and got induced, it was on the 19th. I was still only at 1 centimeter. My OB was like, okay, we're not going to have to give you anything beforehand. Just come to the hospital at 5 on Thursday. That way, we'll get you set up and, you can have this baby by lunchtime. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So my husband and I, we went out one last time, leaving the doctor's office. We went out to dinner. And then, we came home. And then on Wednesday, we're getting, like, the hospital bag ready and make sure we have everything we need, get it in the car because I don't want to have to get up any earlier than I need to go and have this child. So I'm like, okay. Well, sure enough, at 1:30 in the morning, my stomach wakes me up. And, like, I have really bad anxiety. Whenever my anxiety is through the roof, my stomach gets upset. I thought that's all it was. So I didn't think anything of it. I'm trying to go back to sleep and it starts back up again. And I'm like, what is going on? So, like, I get up, I go to the bathroom, and I'm just, like, sitting there, and I'm like, am I in labor? I was like, there's no way no, like, I'm not in labor. So I called my mom. It's like 2 a.m. and I said, hey, am I in labor? Because she's gonna know. And she's like, I don't know. She was like, are you having contractions? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, I didn't know what this was gonna feel like. So she was like, well, start timing every time your stomach, like, cramps up. And I was like, well, they're like every 4 minutes. So she was like, okay, go wake up your husband, tell him you're in labor, and then call the hospital to see what they want you to do, because I was supposed to come in at 5 to be induced. So it's like 2:30, I called the hospital, and I said, hey, just want to let you know I think I'm in labor, like, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh, yeah, you can come in. She's like, you can come in now. We already have your room ready for you. So I said, okay, great. I took a shower before I went there because I wanted to take a shower. And as we're driving, my labor settled in my back. The same side that I broke my back when I was 13 doing gymnastics. So whenever I tell you it felt like my back was breaking all over again, like, I mean that literally, because it was like the same pain. So we're like driving to the hospital. We get there, go through ER, whatever, get up to the room. I get checked. I'm 4 centimeters. And she was like, do you want an epidural? And I was like, yes. Yes, I do. I did not plan on having it. I have a high pain tolerance, but once it settled in my back, I'm like, no, like, I need this. So from like 3:30 when we got to the hospital, I was 4 centimeters up until I started pushing at 11:30. I think it was 11:30. My son made his arrival at about 12:15. And, things were great. We were in the hospital for a couple days for my health and my child's health because, I was very immunocompromised. I just finished my chemo treatment 2 weeks prior to that. And I never ended up having to be induced, thankfully, because I didn't want to be induced. So my son knew that was his day. And then 2 weeks after I delivered my son, I was back in for another 12 weeks of chemo. Had to get another PICC line in. This time I could do it down in radiology. However, it still took an hour and a half because my veins just don't want to play nice. And, rather than going every 3 weeks this time, I was now going once a week for 12 weeks. And my last chemo treatment was on April 25th of 2021. So I was happy about that. I had more testing done on the left side about 2 weeks after I finished chemo. No. I'm sorry. It was a month after I finished chemo. And I had my mammogram, ultrasound, and MRI done on the left breast. And mammogram findings showed microcalcifications. So I was back in for another biopsy. And the biopsy results showed that they were precancer cells. So I was like, great. I'm on the phone with my oncologist. I was scheduling like a follow-up visit post-chemo. We were just talking about that. And I was like, listen, like, what do we do? Because the plan after chemo was going to be radiation. But now knowing that we have microcalcifications on the other side, that's precancerous, what do we do? So they called my breast surgeon. And I was like, well, hang on. I was like, you talk to her. I'm going to call my gynae. And I was like, I'm getting a total hysterectomy done, like, with this. I was like, I'm not playing this game again. Because with the BRCA mutation, they recommend that you get mastectomy and hysterectomy, and like all that taken care of by the time you're 35, because the BRCA mutation is not only breast cancer, but it can also be ovarian cancer, as well as like a couple other like cancers and stuff like pancreatic, different skin cancers, just like there's a whole big list to it. Lucky me. But, so I called him up, and at this point we had a surgery date. I forget what it was now. It was like June something. June 2nd maybe. And he was like, he's like, I know you, and you're not going to take no for an answer. I'm like, no, I'm not. I was like, you are doing a total hysterectomy on me. I said, I'm not playing this game again. So he asked me if I was 100% certain that I was going to be done having children. And I told him that, my husband and I had talked about it, and we don't plan on having any more kids. I said, this is going to be it for us. This is what we were blessed with. This is he was our miracle child with everything I had to go through. I was like, we're not doing this again. So he said that date didn't work for him, but he was going to call my breast surgeon, and they were going to find a day that worked for both of their schedules. So on June 11th, 2021, I was now back in the OR for a major dual surgery. So it was my total left mastectomy as well as my total hysterectomy. And I got to go home that same day too. That was outpatient, even though they were both major surgeries. I honestly forgot that I even had the hysterectomy done. I had absolutely no pain with it. However, I did have pain in my left side, which was really weird because my right side was perfectly fine. My left side actually hurt a little bit, but again, had my range of motion back in like a week because I set my standards high. And again, like I stayed at my parents' house. My son stayed here with me. And, my husband would just drive back and forth, every day to come see us and stuff whenever he wasn't working because, again, I was worried about my cats. So everything went well with that. I healed from surgery. And then in early August, end of July, early August, I started radiation. I had to get 30 rounds of radiation so for 5 days, every 6 weeks, Monday through Friday. I did not miss a treatment. I had to be there every day until I was done. And you're really only there for like a couple minutes. It's not like radiation takes a long time or anything like that. But whenever I finished radiation, I went back to my oncologist. So this is a couple weeks after I finished radiation. And there was a new study that had come out because radiation was supposed to be it. Like radiation was supposed to be the end of my cancer treatment. However, with this new study coming out, it was shown that if you take an additional chemo drug, like an immunotherapy treatment for a year for triple negative breast cancer, the results showed the likelihood of it returning was slim. So as much as I didn't want to do it, I went ahead and I did this immunotherapy for a year. So 365 days, I'm popping 2 pills, 2 in the morning, 2 in the evening. And the rules were so strict that if I missed a medication, like if I missed the dose, I cannot take it again. Like I can't make up for it. So I was very particular. Like I would take it at 9 o'clock. So I would wake up, I would eat breakfast because I learned that even though I didn't have to eat with this medicine, if I didn't eat with it, I was sick. So I would eat breakfast and I took my pills. And then in the evening at 9 o'clock, I would eat a snack, like a heavier snack, because even if I just ate crackers, it wasn't enough. So like a heavier snack, and I was taking these pills. And I had to do that for a year. And then on September 24th of 2022, I was officially done with cancer treatment. And since then, knock on wood, everything's been okay. I'm still doing a breast exam on myself because even though I don't have like breast tissue anymore, I could still get like lumps and stuff, especially like along my surgery line. So, I have to make sure, everything's good there. I'm going to my doctor appointments like I need to. We're doing the blood work to check the tumor counts. We're basically doing everything we can. I had a brain MRI after I finished chemo just to make sure, nothing spread there because I was like really worried because I would get headaches after, but I never got headaches. So we just wanted to make sure everything was okay with that, and it was. I had a PET scan for the first time in 2023, sorry. It was early 2023. I had a PET scan after I finished off all of my cancer treatment, and nothing lit up like a Christmas tree, so that was really good. And so now I try to use my time and my platform to spread awareness for breast cancer, just because you keep hearing about how young people are being diagnosed with breast cancer, and I don't necessarily think that it's a new thing. I think that younger women are now understanding the signs and symptoms of breast cancer. They're talking to their doctors. They're doing the self-breast exams like they need to be doing. We're just being proactive and cautious because that's what you need to do. Like the whole key to cancer is catching it early, regardless of what cancer you have. Unfortunately, some cancers like pancreatic cancer or liver cancer might be a little bit harder to catch early because you can't feel those lumps, and unless you're showing like any kind of symptoms, you're not going to know. So at least with like breast cancer, 9 times out of 10 we can feel our own lumps. We know our bodies more than anybody else does. So that's why it is so important to take the 5 minutes once a month just to do an exam. I talk a lot about that on my TikTok and Instagram. I have shown on multiple occasions how to do a proper breast exam, so go check that out if you are interested or you're unsure. But yeah, that's basically it. And like, I never wanted to be known as the athlete who has breast cancer, because I didn't want people to treat me differently because of that. But now I almost embrace it, because I feel like I have become such an advocate for young women that if you want to call me the athlete with breast cancer, then by all means, you call me the athlete with breast cancer. Like, I don't care. I want to help you stay healthy, and I want you to be able to talk to it. Like, catch anything early. Talk to your doctor. Like, I know it's scary. Believe me, I know how scary it can be. Like, I was terrified to even, like, call her, but I was like, I need to get this taken care of, because knowing if I would have waited any longer or anything, I mean, who knows what the end result would be. I might not be here right now telling you my story and sharing all of this with you. And I know this has been such a long video, but like, this is something that has really, I think this is what, like, why this happened to me. Like, I was never angry about it. It was never like, like, why do I have breast cancer? Or like, why me? Like, playing the victim. It was like, okay, I have breast cancer. What am I supposed to do with this? Like, what am I supposed to do from here? And I think advocating for young women and sharing the importance of breast cancer awareness is what I was supposed to do with this. So I will do what I can to help anybody that I can. Maybe one day, breast cancer will be completely eliminated. We can only hope, right? So yeah, that's my story. And like I said, October 2nd, I am 4 years, officially 4 years, cancer-free. So I really hope it stays that way. But yeah, if you stuck around this long, thank you for listening to my story. If you have any questions about anything, don't ever hesitate to reach out to me. If you're not comfortable leaving a comment below with any kind of question or whatever, you can always email me. You can always shoot me a message on like Instagram or TikTok, like whatever. I'll see it. I might not see it right away, because if it goes to my request, I might not get a notification for it, but I will try to check that a little bit more often. So yeah. And also, if you want, I have breast cancer shirts. There are hoodies, long sleeve shirts, and t-shirts that you can get over on my website. I do have that back up and running, especially now with October being Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I Am a Fighter, which is what I'm wearing, and it has Survivor on the back. I'll show you in a minute. And I also have ones that say No One Fights Alone, and it just has my phoenix on the back. It does not say Survivor. So I think this is, like, it would make a really good gift for somebody that you love who is either battling cancer or has been recently diagnosed and is going to begin their cancer treatment, or, for yourself or family and friends who are that support system for those who need it, because having a strong support system is really crucial whenever you're going through something as terrifying as this. And I do have the little breast cancer ribbon down here on the sleeve of the hoodies and the long sleeve shirts. The t-shirts, it's up on the sleeve itself. And then just to show you the back, because I love it, get the chair out of the way. Jeez, Nikki. Like, there's my phoenix. And then, like I said, the hoodies say Survivor on the back for the I Am a Fighter. So go snag yourself one now. Go show people that you love, you support them in their journey. And like I said, thanks for sticking around, listening to my story. And yeah, so just like always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, follow me on social media, and as always, I hope you have a spooktacular rest of your day.